Welcome to Comics with Dan. This is the Comics Commute number 21. I had a pretty good reading week this week. I got to read my pools, which were World's Finest number 28, Nightwing 115, Helen of Wyndhorn number 3, and The Displaced number 5. So I'll talk about those a little bit. And in addition to that, I read Superman The Black Ring Volume 1, which was pretty good. And I read Something Is Killing the Children 38, which I have a separate review on that, so you can check that out. As well as the Gatchaman Ken Deathmatch one-shot, which I also have a review on that as well. So that's what we'll dive into. And then this week coming up, I have Absolute Power Ground Zero, which I'm really excited about. Void Rivals number 10, another one that I'm excited about. And then No One number 9, which it feels like it's been a while since we've had a No One book. I think I need to go back and listen to the last podcast and check out the last issue that I had just to refresh a bit. But I'll talk about those a little bit as well. So World's Finest was, again, they should rename the book The Dan Mora Show, because it really seems like Mark Waid's intention every time he puts together a World's Finest issue is to just give Dan Mora the absolute coolest stuff that he can draw. This was, and this was obviously the kind of the same scenario that we've seen. This implosion arc, I thought was going to be kind of lame and, try its hardest to capture some of that Silver Age charm, but not necessarily succeed. But it has. It's been, another really great World's Finest arc. Definitely better than I thought it was going to be. I think that the really heavy emphasis on Jimmy Olsen during this arc has been pretty cool. It's at the very least, even if you don't really care for the story with all the fifth dimensional imps and all that stuff, it's beautiful to look at. It's fantastic. Dan Mora and Tamara Bonvillain on colors. Just an awesome looking book. Beautiful month in, month out. So I read Helen of Wyndhorn number 3, and again, Bill Quisevely to me is one of the top talents in comics right now. And if she doesn't just get bombarded with requests from the big two and from every indie book out there to do art, I don't know what's wrong with the industry if that doesn't happen. She is absolutely crushing it on this book. These giant fantasy landscapes that she's portraying are beautiful, and we get to see, I don't know that it's actually revealed in the book where Helen goes, but it's off into this sort of mystical land, which is complemented by Evely's art perfectly. It's a lot more sort of action, but at the same time, it's a Tom King book. So there are just an absolute ton of words. The one thing that I didn't love about this issue was just that the previous 2 issues were Tom King Tom King was writing from the point of view of the governess or whatever her role is, and in this one it's a lot more from Helen's standpoint, and I had really been enjoying the fact that we didn't have the insight of the protagonist to our advantage, right? A lot of Tom King books, he does have a particular formula that he likes to use for a lot of books. And one of that involves sort of the self-reflection, main character reflecting upon themselves type of thing. And I was excited to see that wasn't the case here. Not because I don't like that, but just because, it's cool to see writers mix things up. And now we're kind of back to, well, we get a book narrated by the main character again. So King's kind of back to his normal routine of doing things, which again is still a really good issue. It was really, really well written. King can write fantastic dialogue when he's not making the characters swear and not using the right number of symbols to match up with the swear word that he's using. I did really enjoy it. It was, again, a beautiful book to look at, interesting story. We get, the plot moves along, and we do start to learn a little bit more about sort of the history behind Helen, and sort of her background a bit more. I do have to say that I'm not entirely sure how this will be wrapped up in 6 issues, but overall, at the very least, again, it's a nice book to look at. So, Nightwing 115 was a solid issue. We're 2 parts through the Fallen Grayson arc, and I think that this is shaping up to be possibly the best arc since the Leaping into the Light arc. If you don't want any spoilers for Nightwing 115, then skip ahead from this. But essentially, Heartless framing Dick Grayson for all of Heartless's crimes, I think, is actually a pretty genius move. I'm still not entirely sure about Heartless's real motivations apart from he's just like a psycho, which to me is sort of a lazy excuse for making a villain act the way that they do. Is, oh, well, they're crazy, they're a psychopath. It's like, okay, but give me something to look at in terms of motivation. Look at Lex Luthor, right? He hates Superman because he has this complex about him that he wants to be great, and he wants to escape his small farm town, Smallville upbringing and be the savior of Metropolis. And then Superman comes in and hasn't had to apply for any of that, and just automatically becomes their savior, right? So, not to get off on a tangent here, but basically, Heartless is this psycho that I can't for the life of me peg the reason why he is so obsessed with taking down Dick Grayson, other than the fact that he is a psychopath that was at the circus whenever Dick Grayson's parents fell. Bruno Redondo's back on Nightwing, which I hadn't really read Beast World or the Titans arc, so I don't know how much of that he was on, but I know that he was kind of sparingly used for a little while there. But I do really like Redondo's art, so it was nice to see him back on this. He was great. I do think that perhaps that while Redondo deserves a ton of credit himself, that maybe Adriano Lucas should be getting a little bit more credit, because I do think that part of what makes Redondo's art so great is how the colors pop, and how that goes along with the story. So Lucas and Redondo, again, a really great combo, and it was 115 was a good issue. I was really happy with it. I think that Taylor is going to stick the landing on this Heartless arc, even if he took forever to get there. I do think he's going to stick the landing here. I read The Displaced number 5. I have a full review on it, so make sure you check that out. But and it's going to be coming out on Thursday, so tomorrow when this is released. It was fantastic. At the very least, in this video, I want to say that you should go buy the books. If you can find all 5 issues at your local comic shop, pick them up. If not, find them online. If not, then hopefully they announce a trade. I might honestly still get a hardcover version of this if they come out with one, even though I have all the single issues. It was just a really, really good book. So make sure you check out my review on that tomorrow. I read Superman, The Black Ring, which I had heard that like Paul Cornell was a pretty underrated Superman writer. And so I wanted to check this out. I had seen an excerpt from Volume 2 of the Black Ring arc, and it had these panels where Lex Luthor was just enraged with Superman, and so which looked great. So I wanted to check it out. I read Volume 1, and it was well done. There were pieces of writing that confused me a little. Oftentimes the transition in conversation or narration or dialogue from one panel to the next made me have to go back and reread to make sure I hadn't like skipped around or was reading in the wrong order, just because it didn't flow properly. Almost to the point where it felt like an unnatural conversation or an abrupt ending to a particular scene. So that was a bit challenging, but I really liked the story overall. This takes place sometime around Blackest Night, I think after, because there's talks about people coming back from the dead and all that. And so Lex Luthor became an Orange Lantern at a certain point in Blackest Night, so he's after the power of a Black Lantern ring. So the whole book is about that. Superman wasn't in this first volume at all, so it's pretty much entirely a Lex Luthor story. And Paul Cornell writes a really good Lex Luthor. He has him as this like really pathetic, despicable, petty person. It's really focused on Lex Luthor says that it's not that he wants these things. It's not that he wants power. It's not that he wants to be in control. It's that he needs it. And I think that's really cool, because he's saying that the Orange Lantern ring made him need these things. It imbued this need inside of him to obtain power, to take over, that sort of thing. So he writes a great Lex Luthor. One thing that was really, really strange to me is that Lex Luthor has an android of Lois Lane, and he sleeps with this robot, a robot. I mean, and there are certain points in the book where he takes the face off of her to reveal her, robot face, to make adjustments, do whatever. And then there's other panels where they are in bed together, which he's a villain, so I can't say that that Cornell's condoning it, but it really was really off and strange to me, that he has this robot with Lois Lane's memories and sort of DNA downloaded into her, and he's in a relationship with her. It's extremely creepy. It does not make Lex Luthor look good. So, I mean, mission accomplished there, I guess. It's also reminiscent of the 90s Lex Luthor, who, if I recall correctly, is sort of in a relationship with his Matrix Supergirl clone. I still don't know the entire backstory on that, so let me know in the comments on what exactly is going on there. But Lex Luthor portrayed as a giant creep in this book. Giant creep, huge jerk, really terrible person in general. Hey, I prefer that over Lex Luthor being portrayed as a good guy like in the current Superman run. So, but definitely a bit odd and jarring to read, to say the least. So my upcoming pulls this week are Absolute Power Ground Zero, which I'm excited to see, because I really want Absolute Power to be good. I think that it has the potential to be good. I'm just not entirely sure that the whole Amanda Waller as the big bad thing is going to work out well. But I'm going to stay positive. I'm going to be pulling the books, so we'll see how it goes. I'm also going to be reading No One number 9, which this is the penultimate issue. So this started back in March of last year. There have been quite a few delays. It's been really good. It's been a great sort of thriller, mystery, crime story. The podcast that goes along with it. Every time I read an issue of No One, I think, oh, that was pretty good, but maybe not as good as the last issue. And then I listen to the podcast and I'm like, oh, this was awesome. I loved it. So, and some people argue, like, hey, like I shouldn't have to listen to a podcast to enjoy it. And so maybe not, but I can't think of another book that's doing this. So I appreciate the, switching it up and trying something new. So I'm liking it. Definitely excited to check that one out. And then finally, I'm reading Void Rivals number 10 this week, which is just bound to be good. This last issue we saw Proximus and Springer face off. I think that we're going to be tackling a little bit more, a little more plot in this one, right? The last two, you could argue even 3 issues, have just been building up Proximus to be this big bad, and it's been great. I don't think that a lot of comics nowadays will take 3 issues to, let alone 1 issue, to really establish a villain and build them up to be worthy of your attention. And Kirkman's definitely doing that here. I'm definitely, I'm intimidated when I see Proximus come on the page, and it's great. Void Rivals the second arc has definitely been better than the first, even though I like the first arc too. So I'm really excited to check out Void Rivals number 10. So I did not get any answers for my Comics Commute trivia last week. So I'll still give the answer, and I'll do a new question today. So the question last week was that in Superman Volume 2, The Chained, the Lex Luthor Revenge Squad consisted of Dr. Farm, Mr. Graft, Sammy Stryker, and a 4th member revealed at the end of the volume. Who is the 4th member of the Lex Luthor Revenge Squad? And the answer is Letitia Luthor, Lex Luthor's mother, is the 4th member of the Lex Luthor Revenge Squad. So I didn't get any answers, so no entries to win New Mutants number 87. But I'm going to keep these going, and hopefully we'll get some entries and some questions answered for throughout the next couple weeks leading up to the end of July, which is when I'm hoping to do the giveaway. So my question for this week is, in Superman the Black Ring, who leads Lex Luthor into the Arctic to find the source of the Black Lantern energy ring? All right, so make sure you go to my website and put your answer in, and so you can get an entry to win New Mutants 87 second printing. Still a really cool book, first appearance of Cable. So make sure you answer that. And let me know in the comments if you've read what you're reading this week, what you've read in the past week. I'd love to get some more engagement. And I think that's all I had. So make sure you like the video. Make sure that you subscribe. Check out these other videos here on the screen. And thank you for watching.